Fantastic Mr. Fox by Roald Dahl, adapted by Nikki. Once upon a time, there were three farmers, August, Buzz, and Bean, Fat One, Short One, Lame. These farmers were nasty and mean. In the valley, there was Mr. Fox, Mrs. Fox, and their four children. Every night, when it got dark, Mr. Fox would ask Mrs. Fox, "What shall it be tonight, my darling?" Every night, Mr. Fox snuck out to go steal their food from the three farmers and get dinner. Every night, Mr. Fox went out to get dinner. He always looked and sniffed the air. This time, the three farmers knew he was coming, and bang, 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 he got shot in the tail. But he's okay. They were trying to dig him out and his family. Scrunch, scrunch, scrunch. There were shovels in the roof, so they tried to get away and dig down away from the shovels. "We can't get them with shovels, so let's get the tractor," said the three farmers. So then they tried to get them with the big, yellow, noisy tractors. So Mr. Fox said, "Dig for your lives, dig, dig, dig." So then the foxes had to dig as fast as they could. After about an hour, the hill just looked like a pile of dirt. At one point, the foxes saw the blade of the noisy tractor, so the farmers were going to pick up the foxes. When they saw them at 5 o'clock, there was a huge hole in the ground. The farmers were not going to give up. They were going to starve the foxes until they came out for food. So the foxes were getting really hungry. They wanted to go get food. It was too dangerous, though. Then it was getting dark out, and all three farmers ordered their hired men to go around the hole with weapons. With all of their hired men, there were 108 men altogether. After 3 days, the foxes had stayed down there for 3 days. Then Mr. Fox had an idea to go and get food. "Come on, children, come with me," said Mr. Fox. Mr. Fox was going to dig their way to the three farmer shacks with all the food in it. They worked day and night digging there. Then suddenly he found a floorboard and slowly pushed up on it. It was Boggis's chicken house. Inside there was just chickens beyond chickens. So then Mr. Fox pounced on three plump chickens and gave them back to their mother. The children and Mr. Fox hurried back to Mrs. Fox, saying, "We have found Boggis's chicken house, number one." "We're not dreaming, Mommy. These are real plump chickens we brought back," said one of the small foxes. "We made a tunnel right to Boggis's chicken house." So they began digging again, making a straight tunnel, but then they heard a voice saying, "Who goes there?" The foxes jumped back in surprise. It was Badger, and beside him was another small badger. "Me, Mole, Rabbit, Weasel, and our wives and children," said Badger. "We have been hiding in the dark in a deep, dark hole. We have found Boggis's chicken house, number one," said Mr. Fox. So there, Mr. Fox, Badger, and his children digging their way back to Bunce's shack full of juicy ducks and geese, and they found another wooden floorboard and pushed up on it. "This is Bunce's shack. We have found it," said Mr. Fox. And then they squeezed and stared at some fat, juicy ducks and geese. Mr. Fox hopped on a ladder, grabbed some, and told them to bring it back to their mother. They headed back to Mrs. Fox and started digging again, trying to get to Bean's cider shack. And there was a brick wall there that they had to smash through, and already there was Rat. "Go away," shrieked Rat. So Mr. Fox and his children went there, and there was cider up to the roof, and Badger and his child followed. "We've found Bean's cider cellular," said the smallest fox. One of the smallest fox grabbed a jar of cider and took a huge gulp of it. Mr. Fox and Badger both grabbed a jar and took a glug. "It's tasting like rainbows," said Badger. Rat said, "Get out of here." "Quick," said Mr. Fox. "Hide." They quickly hid behind some cider jars on a tall shelf. They looked at her. There was a huge woman with a rolling pin in her hand. "How many would you like today?" the woman asked Mrs. Bean. "3," said Mrs. Bean. She reached up and grabbed 2 jars off the tall shelf. She nearly saw them. "If she takes one more, she'll see us," said Mr. Fox. She grabbed 2 jars and left. Up the tunnel they passed Bunch's sack, Boggs's chicken house, and back home they went. There was a huge table full of food. All of their family and friends were there. "So, Mr. Fox, I'm going to make a small village and have all of you live in it with me." Up above their hole were the farmers still waiting for the foxes to come out get the food. It started to rain outside, and there was water dripping down their necks and boots. And there they are, still waiting out in the rain.